everybody. It's Thursday, time for the love of batiks, of course, right? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about color. Um, color application and what we do with color when we're designing batiks. Generally, what happens is I'll choose color and it's mixed by hand, just like the rest of the process of batiks. It's mixed by hand so that the color application, you have to mix maybe 3 to 4 colors for the motif, 3 to 4 colors for the background. You can do, one color on the background, but it's not a solid color, right? Most of the time it kind of has a watercolor effect to it. Okay, so I showed some videos. I showed some different techniques that we were doing in Indonesia, and I labeled one of them a play date, right? So when I go to Indonesia, I love it. I love the creativity there. It's wonderful to sit there and work with the artisans and talk about how we can apply color and what purpose I'm trying to achieve. Because of course you want to think about the end result when you as a quilter walk into a quilt store. What are you looking for with color? Are you looking for one color? Are you looking for a two-tone? Are you looking for a tone on tone? Are you looking for multi? How are you looking for your multi-spaced as far as the color application? That kind of thing. So that all comes back into when I'm putting together batiks or a collection, what colors I choose to put together. And of course, you need to know a little bit about color theory, how color interacts. But you can do that pretty easy too. Take that little watercolor palette that, remember we used to have those in like first grade or something, and you just mix up a whole bunch of colors and see what happens. And that's really the basis of your color application. Okay. One of the things, hey Phyllis, thanks for joining me today. One of the things that we showed is what I call the play date in Indonesia. And it looks like the fabric is wrapped around a hose or a pipe kind of thing. And that's kind of trying to get, is it easier to do that type of thing where you wrap it tightly and then you get the color to disperse differently? A kind of a different application. Is it faster to do that than it is to do like a shibori technique, right? A shibori, think of tie-dye. You're sitting there, you're taking rubber bands or in tie-dye, and then you get that burst effect, okay? So when you go to do production of that type of technique, that's a lot of tying. So maybe you want to do something different. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining me today. So maybe you want to think of a different or a faster way to do it. If you take 15 yards and you wrap it around a pipe or something like that, is that a faster way to do maybe the bursts or not? Or if you're wrapping it a certain way, do you get a linear kind of effect? Okay, so I want to show you one thing. Color Me Banyan bursts, and you can see the kind of the bursts here, right here, right? And how is this applied? How is this achieved? Just like your tie-dye, right? So I'm going to sit there and wrap it like this, almost like a tie-dye, or tie it in the burst. I'm going to apply color in certain areas. And the way I apply color on these, okay, is more the big balls of color. And you saw that application. See, you can see here too. You saw that application in one of the videos, one of the photos that we had put on this prior to going today. So you're taking like sponges and you're putting big balls or areas of color. All right. A lot of times batiks, that's how the batik is applied. And you can see on Raindrops and Roses here, you can almost see the big balls of color, right? You can kind of see that. And now we did an overprinting of the black on that to give it a different effect. All right. But on this one in particular, on Raindrops and Roses, you can see the defined color application, okay? So the repeat of the color is bigger than the repeat of the chop, because remember the chop or the motif application is only about 8.5 inches or 20 inches, right? So my repeat of color is bigger. What application in quilting do we use that for a lot? Well, what if you wanted a whole bunch of different colors for applique, right? In this one right here, you can see you can use some orange, you can use some pink, okay? Or what about a border? What about a feature print? The bigger application of color gives the illusion that the design is a bigger application, okay? Because like I said, we are limited in the normal chop application to an 8.5 inch size or a 20 centimeter size, okay? So those are big balls of color, or big like sponges of color on there. And I showed that application. What's another way to get like application of color? And I'm going to show Linda Hahn's Carnival collection. And that's in stores now. I just showed you Raindrops and Roses, and that one's also in stores right now. So make sure you call your local quilt shop and see if they have it. Or you go to the Banyan Batiks product finder guide and you can find your what store carries it. Okay, now look at these right here. You can see in here there's a lot of different colors, right? And if you cut a 4-inch square or a 5-inch square, you're going to get all of those multi colors, all the bursts of color in there. And that's applied more with a squirt bottle, and I showed that in a video as well as a photo that I had taken. And that's if you're applying it in little bursts of color, smaller as opposed to a big ball of color, then you're able to interact the colors in the smaller square inches, right? So Linda, for instance, Linda Hahn, does a lot with piecing of smaller squares. So if she wants a multi, she's going to want it to be in a 4-inch square or 5-inch square to get all of that color, to make sure that all the rest of the colors make sense, correct? Okay, so you can see I've done, and this is just a way to illustrate how to apply color or how we apply color. And it comes across a lot more vivid as opposed to a tonal kind of thing. But I like to apply color a lot of the times with the squirt bottle, or Courturin technique is what it's called. But it makes the color interact in a smaller square inches. Okay. Now to get the color to interact even more, we add I'm going to say salt. Usually in a watercolor painting, you add salt. It's soda. Okay. Soda ash is thrown on there, and you see the video. It's the white stuff that's thrown on there. Okay. So they do the smoking. The smoking is scrunching it up, right? They apply the color with the squirt bottle, and then they put the soda ash in there. And the amount of time, they have to make sure it's the correct amount of time for the color to interact. Okay, and the soda helps it interact, as well as the heat, as well as the sun helps it to interact. All right, so sometimes you guys have asked me, how long does it take to make a batik, or how long for a 15-yard piece or something like that? And I keep saying it depends. I'm not trying to avoid that question. It depends. It depends. How many colors did I put in the motif? How many colors did I put in the background? What kind of application of color is it? Because after you apply the first color and do the smoking and apply the soda ash and leave it in the sun, then you need to rinse it out, right? And apply the chop. That's only the first colors that are going in the motif. So what if you have, let me see, how about this one right here? This is from Raindrops and Roses right here. Okay, what if you have a double chop application? And this blue one right here is a double chop application. The white dots is one, and these little streaks where it's like, think of on glass, water coming down, okay? And then you have the background. The background is applied last, even though it looks like it's behind, okay? So it depends. What I'm trying to say is it depends as far as how many applications I put on there as well, how long it takes, okay? All right, another color application that I think we showed is our brush strokes application. Brush strokes, it's one of our essentials, and it's kind of like, I call it a hand-painted stripe, right? It's like this. I love this palette, the earth tone palette. All right, so you've got you've got some more dramatic color changes here, and then kind of some tonals as well. But we have a bunch of the brush strokes, and then I have some in brights. I know you guys like brights. Look at this blue. There you go. Or Miss Barb, there's your turquoise. All right. So anyway, these are the hand painted stripes. And how do we do that? We do accordion style, right? If you're making a fan out of a piece of paper, you do accordion folds, okay? And then you apply color in a striped length of fabric way. And I put a video out there so you could see how that is applied. If you look on this one right here, you can see I've got kind of an X application, right? Or a diamond kind of effect on these because I couldn't leave it alone. I couldn't do just the stripe application. I wanted to do something just a little bit different, all right? I didn't put a chop on this though. I let it just be a hand painted stripe with a little bit of texture in there with kind of the X's or the diamond effect because I thought maybe with the chop application it's a little too much, so you have to edit or pull back a little bit. But I thought this was a wonderful essential because it gives you that striated or that stripe kind of effect. All right, so let's look at back to Carnival here. See this one right here. In this particular design, the color application or the multicolor is in the motif, isn't it? So I've applied a lot of colors in the motif, and I want to make sure that they blend in the motif. All right. I can look at this and say, probably I use the couturing technique on this one. So that is a lot more color within a smaller piece, in a 4 or 5 inch piece. Whereas, like I said, the big balls of color is the sponge kind of thing or the big repeat. Generally, if I'm going to do a big repeat of color, I like to do it a lot in the motif. It gives it a look of a different kind of repeat, a bigger repeat. I like to see that kind of color change in the motif. I will do it, like I said, if I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe my feature design in the collection, or maybe this is a great one to use as a border or a backing or something like that. I do use it there. So that's what's kind of considered as well, right? When you're thinking about color application. If you guys have any questions, make sure you type in your question here. And if I don't answer it while we're live, and I will absolutely answer it. But generally what we try and do is take from the comments and the questions and draw a name, and we will send you a fat quarter bundle. Usually it's pertaining to what we're talking about. Okay. All right. Let me show you another one right here. Kiana collection is in stores. See this stripe? Okay. So it's the accordion kind of thing that brush strokes did. And then I have a chop application. I just said that backwards though, didn't I? First, you do the chop application, and there's 2 chops. There's one here, and then there's one in the border. And then you do the stripe over it. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't have too heavy of a wax application from the motif because you don't want the color to stop on it, right? You want it to have a nice stripe effect to it. So this color is on the selvage, and then it goes as almost an ombre, right? And then this is on both selvages. All right. So that's the Kiana. There's a collection. You want to see a collection that's coming to stores next summer, and stores are seeing it right now. So if you really love it, you have to tell them. It's called Florentine. Okay. The Florentine collection. Look at how in the background the color has interacted, right? There's not a lot of color variation there, but you can see the soda and the little bursts right there, okay, in it, and that makes the color blend together. And so you've got a lot of movement of color, and there is no repeat, right? There's no repeat of this particular application. And then the motif, I did a little bit more solid in there. On this one in Florentine, I love this one right here, the swirl. Okay, look how many colors are in there. So many colors in the motif, and I even went to, you can see how it kind of glows. I even go to kind of a white there, and then in the background, it's more of a tonal kind of application of color. But again, it's a little bit more than the squirt bottle, so it's a dense application of the colors in the squirt bottle, but not the big balls of color in there. All right, here's another stripe. You can see that one. Okay, and that one has the changes of color is are a lot larger, right? And then you can see when I chose color, I used similar colors that were in the background as well as in the motif. So it kind of goes in and out, right? It's kind of cool, different, right? Okay. And then this right here, same collection, Florentine. Um, the background has a lot of the blues and purples where I went more of a tonal application with it as far as the color application. Let me show you a block that I did with this because I always play with it, right? You get your strike offs in, you got to play with it. You got to see, okay, how would this make up into a block? And I did this right here. Don't look at all my strings. I did this with the main print of Florentine, and then I put luster in there. Luster is one of our essentials. And I just did the couple tones of luster. And then this right here is shadows. Shadows is also a Banyan Batik essential. Okay. So that's color. That's color application. And every single batik, that's what's thought of. All that different applications of color. How do you want to use it? What do you want to do with it? It's in the quilting world, but every batik is somewhat different, right? And then to duplicate that over and over and over in production to make sure it's consistent, to make sure that all of the Florentine bolts come out similar because there is no repeating exactly color application. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. That's all about color, and I appreciate you joining me. I will look to make sure that I answered all the questions you had today. And sometimes when you guys ask a question, it gives me another subject for the following week. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.